remiss not to discuss the big news around Penn State football over the last week because I think it came out the day after we published the podcast, naturally. And that was that Julian Fleming is returning to State College. Well, not returning. He is coming to play football at Penn State. It's just probably 4 years later than most people
He's
thought it was
taking his
going to be.
talents to State College.
Yeah, there we go. I'm interested. Let me get my rant out of the way, and then I'll let you. I'm interested to hear from you on this situation. But and then you also have Nolan Rucci, who PA kid, legacy football situation, and went to Wisconsin. Now transferring over to Penn State. I don't know. Like this moment for me at least was my all right. There's nothing I can do about the portal. It's here to stay. You have to embrace it. Like we have to enjoy it. And I think I'm not gonna have it be a sour moment of a Penn State player leaving that sours it. I would rather it be a happy, feel good story, even if it doesn't work out in hype, in the way Dante Sivas didn't work out. At least I'm going to embrace this now. So I'm interested to hear from you, Mr. Old Guy, about how you feel about the portal and particularly these two stories. Do you care, or are you just like, it's an NIL deal?
Yeah, it's an NIL deal. Like, I mean, it's just more player movement, right? It's the second pro football team that I follow less than the Steelers now because it's the second pro football team in my life, bringing in free agents, right? And now, if we wanted to be honest about that, I could actually get behind it. If somebody wanted to tell me that Julian Fleming showed up because he's getting X amount of money for whatever, and the new car from the Alexander dealerships, okay, then you're at least being honest with me, and I understand where people's money's going. I struggle with that. Like, it's great. I'm glad they got the two best kids in PA from the past couple of years that were missing from the list. Great for the program to be able to check that off their box and tout it. They did. I think it is what college football is. That's where they've got to be competitive. They're addressing needs in the free agent field, just as the pro teams are. I just think, be honest with this. Hey, yep, it's the portal, but the portal means this kid just got this much money. And that's coming. That's not happening now, but that's coming in a few years because we'll finally get that honest at some point.
That's about the take that I expected. I don't know. I don't disagree with it because I do think a percentage, a 70% of moves are NIL related or driven. Do I think there's also the case for moves of like this one that is, maybe not this one, maybe more so the Nolan Rucci than Julian Fleming situation of I'm probably not going to get reps here because Wisconsin's got these two people ahead of me, but I might get reps at Penn State. And I do want to try to develop as a football player. I guess then we start to get into, you said professional football. I think then we start to get into like developmental league, I guess would be the way I would
good for Nolan Rucci. His probably is different. Maybe he's going to get more reps. I mean, Julian Fleming wasn't playing at Ohio State, is going to, in theory, apparently walk into the Penn State football room and be the best receiver on the roster. I mean, I don't know. Darn close, maybe. So that one feels a little more of a business decision, but there's just a business with all of these. I mean, the kid from Ole Miss, Quinshawn Judkins or whatever, going to Ohio State. Ole Miss is going to be good next year, I would think, right? I don't know their stories. Maybe there's somebody else that they got coming in that's a great recruit, but that feels like that kid's making some money. And there's nothing wrong with that. It would just be helpful to know, here's how the game is played.
From an outside perspective, yes, that one, and obviously even the Penn State ones are from outside perspectives. We have no inside sources or anything like that. But that one certainly feels like I just watched Ole Miss shell out $1 million. I'm just making up numbers. No one knows the numbers, and that's the problem. I just watched Ole Miss shell out X amount of money to this dude, and this dude to get all of these transfers in. Hey, what about my take? And that's why that one feels that way, at least. So I think, I don't know. I think I don't necessarily want like salary info. I I don't know. Like I just don't know how. I think this is the problem, but like I do agree with you that there should be transparency. I don't even need to know that Drew Aller is making this much. I want to know of Happy Valley United's X amount of millions that they raised last year. First off, tell me that number. Give me that information, because then you can actually like use that as marketing. Oh, Ohio State raised this much. Well, we only raised this much. Then you can provide more as a fan. Secondly, tell me the percentages of okay, and maybe they do it, but they don't do it transparently, or they don't do it aggressively. And I think as what I would consider us to be above average fans, we don't know that information. So I can't imagine that people that maybe go to one or two Penn State football games a year, watch most of the games on TV, but don't necessarily read and consume the way you and I do. I don't think they're getting like I
Maybe
don't
the
think
people
that
with
they're
the
getting it.
wherewithal to give no. That may be why you
Yeah,
and I don't know.
yeah.
But yeah. No, I think the people that are invested in investing have a sense of what's happening, a strong sense of what's happening. And I don't know that I want to know exact dollars either, but it just feels dishonest to say, oh yeah, they're transferring the transfer portal. The transfer portal doesn't function in a vacuum, right? It just doesn't.
Mhm.
It is part of a business transaction on both ends, whether it's a push and pull for whatever kid from whatever school. And I just think the sport would be better for it. And I think we will be there in a few years where that's just more commonly known.
Collective bargaining route, or we're just going to be transparent? Because I think it's going to go collective bargaining.
Yeah, it probably will. I mean, I just think that's scary from a lot of, I mean, athletic departments will frame themselves as separate, right? And do all that from separate from the university, but you just set up a different class of people. And again, the finances for it, the healthcare, all that stuff, it just becomes less about, it's kind of one of my rants from early in the season. Nobody asked these kids what their favorite class was, right? Anytime. Like, I don't know that I've been in a Penn State, and I don't go very often, but whether it's football stuff or stuff I listen to or other things, even hockey, I think I've asked a couple of kids about their favorite class, right? And they've talked and okay, yeah. I mean, it wasn't for a story. It was more like, I'm just curious if this kid knows what class they're in, right? But I'd be shocked. No football players get asked that stuff, right? So, or basketball players. So it's just not about that.
Okay.
You know?
I don't disagree with anything you said here. But I also don't 100% agree with it.
Right.
But
No, you're more comfortable with it being, and I'm not
I
uncomfortable. It's just
yeah,
not mine. Right. I'll find other things to support, not at their expense, not because I dislike it or anything. It's just, I'm more comfortable supporting other things now that I know the money that's being made there. That's all.
okay. That's fair. That's fair. Um, I wonder if hold on, I want to come back to this. Let me ask you a question. As a father of two daughters who chipped in, at least I would assume, some amount, and I don't have kids, obviously, and I certainly don't have a kid in college. Do you feel, as a parent, is does that have anything to do with your agitation towards NIL because you're seeing other students get money?
No, because
Okay.
I wouldn't begrudge the kid who's playing the guitar, right, in the bars and making money, or in a
Okay.
band and do. No, I know it's flawed logic. Like,
You're
I get
you're
it. I was fully happy taking advantage of that kid for 30 years or whatever it was. But I also fully believe the scholarship has value. The room and board
okay.
have value. The books have value. And I think that $250,000 or whatever it adds up to over 4 years, along with free airfare and free hotels and free healthcare, is compensation enough. And maybe I blame the NCAA for not getting ahead of it soon enough. But at the same time, what's worse than that, and I'll try not to have ranty voice,
No,
what's
you're
worse
good.
than that are the athletic departments that have 16 ADs that do this and this and this. That's all on the back of the kids, right? So I don't begrudge the kids when athletic departments are growing like that. Penn State hasn't had more student athletes in the past 20 years, but they have grown a lot in terms of administration.
Mhm.
I begrudge that almost more than I begrudge the kids getting the money who are out there getting hit.
Well, I was just gonna say it. You don't have a problem with kids making money. It's the lack of transparency with the kids making
Yeah,
the money, I think
I think so. Like, I
is what
think I'd
your
like to
issue
know
is.
what college football players make.
I
And I have more of a problem with the people who are making a livelihood off their backs when the kids were getting nothing. Like, I do think when athletic departments have 16 associate ADs and whatever else, and I know the business world has changed, I just think it's good for the kids and okay for the kids to be rewarded. It's just, it seems like a lot, but they're making a lot. The programs are making a lot. So I think it's like water. It'll find its right level
Yeah.
here in the next couple of years.
No, and I think going back to the transfer portal, that in of itself is this, it's still what, 3 years new, like 4 years new.
Mhm.
And we're still, I think the other thing that I was thinking about, we're only halfway through the kids that have COVID years, right? Like there's going to be a lot of kids that end up staying for 6 years until 2026. I'm interested to see after 2026 when there's less roster backup if the transfer portal calms down in some other ways, because I think that also has something to do with it.
Right.
All right, that was a good discussion. Thank you, Steve. All right.